Lights, camera, debate, ignite, passion strong under the spotlight. Tune in for the clash, tune in for the spark. The critic and the cynic light up the dark.
Welcome back to The Critic and The Cynic. We're going on to the next movie, which is called Three Wiser Men and a Boy.
Now, this is different. We have three men and a little boy on the cover. There's not a woman in sight. So,
that doesn't mean anything. If you think back to the Tamara movie, she was the only person on the cover, but it was still a romance.
But look at the genre.
Ooh,
there's no romance.
Comedy and drama.
I don't think this
obviously,
is going to be a romance.
This is clearly getting inspired from Three Men and a Baby, right?
Yeah.
So this is Three Wiser Men and a Boy. You could even think about 2.5 Men, but this is the one with the guy we just saw.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
So
let's just hope that he doesn't start this movie being like an uber douche like in the last movie.
Well, right. So what we're talking about here is in the movie we reviewed last week called Jingle Bell Run, which is the movie with Ashley Williams. He starred opposite of her, and I noticed that he was starring in another movie this week that we're looking at, which is this one here. And what's this? Three Wise Men Collection. It's a sequel, isn't it? Hold on. There's Three Wise Men and a Baby that came out 2 years ago. Should we watch that in preparation?
You're gonna make me watch another shitty
It's the
movie?
same guys, and there's a baby.
All right, so then this is just after the baby becomes a young boy. Okay, whatever. Fine. So
maybe this episode won't be 5 movies, and maybe
apparently it has to be 6 again.
Sorry guys, false alarm. So instead of 38 movies this podcast, we're talking about 39 because I didn't realize that we had a sequel.
Normally, I would say I don't care.
But think about it, a Hallmark movie got popular enough to get a sequel. That doesn't happen, does it?
Yes, it does.
Does it?
Unfortunately.
Okay, so let's go ahead and should I read the?
Yes, you should. I mean, I looked at the tagline here and it looks pretty lame, but whatever.
I'm gonna quickly read the premise of the first one. 3 brothers, so they're all related.
Okay.
Get the surprise of their lives when they are forced to work together to care for a baby over the holidays. As they slowly get the hang of things, they find themselves in unexpected journeys of self-discovery and begin to rebuild their relationships as brothers, as well as the damaged romantic and professional relationships in their respective lives, all while rediscovering their love of Christmas.
Okay, now I don't hate the idea of this. Because I watched Baby Daddy, and it was the same idea, that it was like 2 brothers and a friend that had to come together to just figure things out because all of a sudden they were tasked with taking care of this baby. It could be humorous. It's obviously going to be endearing. Probably going to get some misty eyes.
The possibility, yes. So let's go ahead and read that premise of the sequel, even though I feel like it might spoil some of the first movie, but I've got to read it. So, 5 years after the event of the first film. It hasn't been 5 years since it was released. FYI. But Christmas is once again around the corner, and a crazy turn of events, possibly brought on accidentally by the brothers themselves. The director of Luke's son Thomas's school holiday musical steps down. Luke, desperate to make his son's stage dreams come true, enlists the help of his brothers Taylor and Stefan. The trio also find themselves meeting their mother's new boyfriend, and the brothers grapple with their own feelings about this relationship. In true Brenner brother fashion, they are all in for a Christmas they'll never forget. That doesn't really spoil me with anything.
No.
The only thing that I'm kind of curious about is that the first one talked about relationships that they're dealing with respectively, but even in the poster for this one, there's still no like women that it's talking about or is on the poster or anything.
Because I don't think that's going to be the forefront of this story.
Right.
Even if they do have romantic side stories, I just don't think that is going to be the most important thing that we're dealing with.
Right.
2 hours later.
All right, so we just finished both movies. We just finished Three Wise Men and a Baby, as well as the sequel called Three Wiser Men and a Boy.
And I don't think they were any wiser in the second movie.
Well, you know, you get a little bit smarter when you get a little bit older. You get a little bit more wisdom, right? So there you go. So to kind of give you guys a quick recap here of what this was, is that these three brothers, actually specifically one of them, comes into contact with a baby because he's a fire guy, and they drop off the baby at the fire station.
With a note specifically saying,
with a
"Can
note
you
for
watch
him?" Yeah, a note for him. So he's like, well, I guess I'll just take him home because that's how things work in a legal sense. So he brings him home, and he and his brothers watch after this baby. And I mean, the same could be said sort of for the sequel. The sequel, the baby's older, is 5 years old, and they're more or less acting as babysitters.
I wouldn't say they're acting as babysitters. I would say the mom's out of town, and they're trying to help the boy with his school play, basically.
I would say out of the two, I prefer the first one overall. I think it was cuter with the baby, especially the out of absolutely nowhere, what do? We have a baby in our lives now. That aspect, I think, was cuter and a little bit more emotional in terms of certain sequences. The second one was also cute, but they had a little bit of experience going into it, and so you're watching it more so for this whole family dynamic in the sequel. The first one, I feel like it was more so about these men figuring things out for themselves, figuring stuff out for their relationships, figuring out maturity for themselves as growing adults.
They were still figuring things out in the second movie. And I have to say that out of all of these movies, and I don't even know how many we've watched at this point, but out of all of these movies, these characters were the most human. They were flawed individuals. They were dealing with their own stuff. They were dealing with family stuff. I really appreciated that. They felt genuine. The actors did a wonderful job portraying these characters. Just the whole movie felt like it wasn't even a Hallmark movie. I don't know. And this was definitely something that I would consider watching year after year.
Traditional, yep.
So I'm going to do it.
Oh, you're going to do it. You're going to do it.
I am going to press the unicorn button.
Woo!
For the set of movies.
For the set of movies.
Yeah.
So the franchise as a whole. This is a first. Okay, this is the first time for the podcast. The first movie that we looked at, we hit the veto. The second one, straight to the unicorn.
Yep.
That means that the only buttons that we have left is the same, I think.
Yeah.
We both have a crap button each to use for the remainder of the podcast season.
Yep.
All right, so there you have it. So obviously, Three Wise Men and a Baby is joking off of and being inspired by the movie that came out called Three Men and a Baby, and I'm guessing that the sequel, Three Wiser Men and a Boy, was also inspired by Three Men and a Little Lady, which was the sequel to Three Men and a Baby.
I have no idea.
I cannot say for certain if I've seen either of the real movies. If I have, it was so long ago that I don't even remember. So the nice thing about that is I cannot compare it. If I was to compare it, I don't know how it would feel. I honestly don't, because obviously the original older, OG movie was popular enough to have its own sequel, and people know it. So I don't know if it's a good movie or not, in my personal opinion, but I do really enjoy this, and I find it fascinating that this one actor in this movie, who we've now seen 3 times, because he was in Jingle Bell Run, and then he was in these 2 Three Wise Men movies. It's funny how you mentioned, he's acting like such a douche in the beginning, but he's also in 3 of the best movies that we've seen in this entire experience.
Well, because these 3 movies, they experience growth. Like, the characters grow over the course of the film.
I agree. It's nice because another aspect of the film, even though there is romance in there for each of the guys, like they have their own sort of relationship that they're gunning for and everything. It's kind of like the film that we watched with the two aunts as the friendship, like it was all about friendship in that. Like, I would say the movie's not about romance as much as it is about brotherly love. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And that is one of the best aspects of this movie, and I think that is one of the most rewatchable factors about it. Say, if you're a fan of the later seasons of Supernatural, a lot of people love those episodes specifically because Dean and Sam as brothers, but also Castiel and the three of them kind of in a big way, just this trio of brothers. And there's a brotherhood going on in the episode, and they didn't care so much about what the show was about as much as they liked these interactions that these characters went through. And I feel like if you enjoyed those for that reason, you'd probably enjoy this. Also, probably if you're a fan of 3 Men and a Baby, I'm gonna guess you'll probably enjoy this as well. I cannot say for certain because I've not seen them, but
well, even if you haven't seen those movies, and maybe they have nothing in common, I have no idea, but if you're a parent, you're going to appreciate these movies.
If you're a parent, you're going to appreciate it as well. And I will say that these brothers' perspectives in life, I can also relate with, because I grew up with 2 brothers, no sisters, just 2 brothers and a single mom. So it's exactly what these brothers had also grown up with. So they only had each other to kind of be each other's role models in life in a way. So I related with that as, I guess, the youngest brother of 3 brothers.
Yeah, and I relate to, and I don't know the birth order of these brothers.
Yeah, they're very
honest,
similar in
but
age, I feel like.
I have a feeling that Taylor, the character of Taylor, is probably the middle brother, and he is a crabby, cynical, sarcastic person, and I love it.
He's the best. He's the absolute best in terms of a relatable character. You don't see a lot of these types of characters in the Hallmark movies.
No, you don't see flawed characters in Hallmark movies. If they have a flaw, it's glossed over with so much plastic and sugar.
If they have a flaw, it's often in terms of what job they have. They're just so obsessed with whatever job they have, and they're so blind to what's right in front of them that they need to snap out of it.
Yeah.
And then, oh yes, I'm a perfect person now that I'm staying in the small town with my new loves and stuff. That's Hallmark for you in a nutshell. These were actual human beings for the most part, which is really nice to see. I do think that this is special. It does make sense as to why there was a sequel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wonder if they'll make
a third one when the little boy's like a teenager. Oh yeah, that could be fun.
Oh boy. I love it because they're saying how much more difficult it was to raise this boy versus when he was a baby. Yeah, try with a teenager, see how that works. And then get some more of the just jerk neighbor.
Yeah.
That guy was great. I love that guy. He's just a jerk for no reason.
Yeah, it was sole purpose.
I love that guy.
What did he say when he saw them? Like, hey, ding dongs.
Yeah. It's like, how's it going, ding dongs? And they're like, you done? Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
And then he would just walk away after insulting them. Just perfect.
He just insults them and then walks away. It's great. As far as a Christmas movie, like you said, there's not a lot of like overall Christmas spirit in the film. There's more familial spirit in it. There is, of course, Christmas stuff going on. They got the Christmas pageant. They got Christmas lights tradition in the first film. And the Christmas dance next to the Christmas tree. I don't even know what they call that.
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, totally something that, again, is relatable. Every time this song would play, the 3 brothers would have to jump up and dance this little thing that they probably created when they were kids. And that's just...
It's tradition.
Yeah, every family has it. Every family has a story that you hear a million times.
And another thing I guess I should say, a lot with Hallmark, you got chemistry that you're looking for, and we already talked about brotherly love, and that's great and everything, but they really do feel like brothers to me. Like they
look nothing alike.
They look nothing alike, absolutely.
But I 100% believe that they are brothers.
Right. I love that. That's acting and that's chemistry. It's all rolled into one. It's actually pretty well done there. In terms of filmmaking, you know, there's nothing spectacular there. I don't think there's a crazy amount of cinematography or anything going on. Both films started the same with like drone footage covering everything, which is what most of them do. But I don't know.
You're talking the pluses here are the story and the acting.
Yeah.
Those are the main components.
That's what you're going to
done
connect with the
very, very
most.
well.
You're just going to connect with these characters and what's going on in their lives and just what they're doing. I think your cynical middle brother, for instance, his reactions with like his facial features are gold. Like especially in the first movie when he's just carting the kid around. He goes to the supermarket and he's like, what do I do? Stuff that we have seen before in like Fish Out of Water, First Time Parent, like comedies, but just the way that this guy is pulling off these scenes I thought was really funny and really well done.
Yeah, he's my absolute favorite, and I am excited that he is going to show up again later in our list.
Yes, later in the list, he will be showing up in the football movie that I've been kind of dreading, but now that I know that it's him, now that after we saw this movie, I'm looking a little bit forward to it because he is I think he's a good actor.
Yeah, I thought so.
I looked back in his history. He's got some interesting credits. He was in like an episode of like a Star Trek show.
Okay.
So you don't really get onto Star Trek Discovery, I think it is, which is like the CBS Prime show, without at least being half what talented. So that's cool. Overall, what would you rate it?
I'm going to go with like 85.
85. That's the highest that you've given anything.
I know. Well, I used the unicorn button, so.
Yeah. And I gave 80% to the Spy movie, which is the highest that I've given anything. I'm going to stick with 80. But yeah, overall, pretty solid a couple of movies. When it comes down to recommending these movies, out of like all of them, which I think that's now 21 movies that we've seen.
Okay.
Out of the 21 movies that we've seen thus far, these ones are high up there on the recommended list.
I would completely recommend these movies, especially if you want a Christmas movie, but you don't want something that's overly sickeningly sweet.
There you go. Yeah, I agree. So guys, check out 3 Wise Men and a Baby, as well as its sequel, 3 Wiser Men and a Boy.